Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for being here to the California Placement Association's webinars. I'm happy you could join us today. My name is Greg Friedman. I am from the Northern region up in Merced, California with Merced County Office of Education as a job developer. Real quick, I see Jackie Kennedy here. So you want to introduce yourself real fast?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Jackie Kennedy Harris, and I am the corporate business partner for the Central Region. And I'm also the founder of JKH Career Coaching and Consultant. And thank you all for joining us this morning.
Awesome. Thank you, Jackie. A lot of you will probably receive an email survey from Jackie afterwards. She always appreciates it when you can respond back. And we love your feedback. I don't see any other board members here except the extraordinary. I want to introduce our presenter today, Rosalinda Rivas. I call her Wonder Woman because she does so many things. She is our current president of the California Placement Association. She's the apprenticeship director at Moreno Valley College. She is involved in everything. I don't think she sleeps. I don't know how she does it. I'm not jealous of her superpower, but I wish I had it. So she is going to present today on Real Talk, preparing job seekers for what it takes to manage a dual workplace and hybrid realities. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Miss Rosalinda. Thank you so much.
Wonderful, Greg. I appreciate that. Thank you so much for being part of our board as well, and volunteering from Northern California. It's great to see people here throughout the state of California. And I just want to say, first of all, thank you all for taking the time to be here today. So what we're going to go over is a couple of slides. I say a couple, like 21 slides. And we have about an hour to go through them, and I think we'll be able to do just fine. We just want to talk about what's going on in regards to more and more individuals going into the hybrid workplace, a lot of job seekers that we're encountering within our caseloads with clients, students, and thinking about what our employers are looking at, what's going on in America, what's going on globally in regards to hybrid practices, and how we could best serve and prepare our job seekers for that. So I'm going to show some information. I'm going to ask for some information, and we're going to brainstorm some stuff together and kind of highlight what we've been hearing and discovering. So let's see if I can get this to work. All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to cover the hybrid, the employer's hybrid worker expectation, what's coming from the workforce piece from employers in HR, what they're going through, what's going on. I have some stats, and we're also going to go over how we can prepare the hybrid job seekers. And that's where most of us come in. So the first thing I want to do is I just kind of want to set the platform on what does it mean to be a hybrid model? Like what does that mean, right? So I'm going to open this up to all of you first. I know that there's 3 things here listed, but if I can get at least 2 or 3 volunteers to kind of verbally shout out what a hybrid model is, maybe in your workplace or what you've been seeing. And then everyone else, please feel free to drop it in the chat box. And then Greg's going to do a great job in kind of highlighting some of those. So who would like to volunteer first?
Me.
Thank you, me.
It's Michael.
Hi, Michael.
I work 4 days a week, so 1 day remotely from home and the other 3 at work.
Okay, so the other 3 at work, say that again. That was a 4-3 model. Say that again.
So 1 day at home and the other 3 days going to work, driving to work.
Okay, so are you on a 10-hour schedule? Like a 10-40?
Sort of. I'm a faculty member, so I teach, so it's not really a 40-hour work week.
Work week, okay. And so so you're doing a combination where 1 day at home and 3 days in the office. How do you like it so far?
It's okay. Depending on what I'm doing. When I'm teaching, I teach online, so teaching is great when I'm teaching remotely. When I'm in the workplace, sometime when I meet with students is virtual, so it's kind of difficult to be in multiple roles because sometimes I have students in person as well as online.
Oh, so having to juggle the both when you're physically there, and then
yes,
having the walk-ins and then the Zoom appointments as well, juggling the both. Okay, great. Thank you so much for that feedback. I appreciate it, Michael. I'd love to hear from someone else. Who would like to go next?
I'm 100% in person, although I wouldn't mind working from home a day or 2.
Okay. Did you have an opportunity to do any of the hybrid or complete remote working during COVID?
Oh yeah, we were remote for a while. Yeah.
Okay. So being 100% remote and then being back in the office 100%, what would be your ideal hybrid work schedule if you can have one, or do you prefer the 100%? You mentioned that you would like to be able to have some remote opportunities. What would that look like?
Like 1 or 2 days at home, I suppose. It's great being at work and having coworkers. It's funny, as someone mentioned the other day, that you go back to work and people are different sizes. On Zoom, everybody's the same size. We all stop right there at that height. But no, we all are different sizes. Like, I didn't think about that. So, you miss the coworkers and the camaraderie, but sometimes you don't necessarily have to drive in and to the office. You can do stuff from home.
Makes it convenient. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Greg. I appreciate that. And it's great to hear a different type of model that's been in play, from full 100% to well, I was gonna say 100%, 100%, right? 100% remote to 100% face-to-face all over again. All right, one more individual. If I can have one more brave person to share a little bit about hybrid, whether it's your work schedule or maybe job seekers or somebody's that or a company that they're doing in their family life in your home or community. Who would like to share?
I can share.
Thank you.
My name is Pat Ceniceros. I'm the job developer at 211 Careers. I didn't even know what the word hybrid meant, but I work remote 3 days a week. I am a job developer, so it works out well for me. I am in the office and touching bases with our career counselors as needed to catch me up on the job seekers we've enrolled. I almost feel like I work harder when I'm at home. We log what we're doing during the day, and I just sort of feel like I'm really putting in the work at home.
I need to get her to sign this.
But it works well for my position.
Greg, can you mute John? Thank you. Sorry about that, John. And this is what happens in the hybrid reality when we're doing virtual conferences or even working from home, right? When we're doing the virtual meetings. So it's a norm now, right? So
Yes.
no worries.
It's not showing up.
Thanks for being flexible with that, Pat. Thank you for sharing too. So so you're doing a 3-2 schedule and your productivity seems to be a lot higher when you're actually at home versus in the office.
For me, unless my dog needs to go outside and take care of her business. But that's a break. That's a 15-minute break that I usually don't take during the day at work anyway. So she kind of gets me up and out, and then I can come back in a bit refreshed. But it's working out well for me and the position I have.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. And I also heard you mention that you have to log what you're doing, that communication piece there when you're working virtually, as well as catching up with the communication component when you're face to face. So that's really great. And it's good to hear that because we're going to share a little bit about that and the importance of how that is, I'm going to say critical or essential nowadays in the hybrid virtual remote work schedule. And thank you, Pat, for saying that. You didn't even know what the word hybrid meant because sometimes we think about cars, right? So,
no, it's like a new buzzword.
Yeah, so the hybrid work model, new buzzword. So is the dual work, modality. That's another one too. But pretty much the same. So I just wanted to make sure we had kind of like the same definition. So that's why I'm starting off with this. So a hybrid work model is set up where employees work partially in the office and partially remotely. Hybrid, a mix of the two. There are some positions that are completely 100% remote, but we're going to talk about a little bit more about the hybrid model here today, because that seems to be more of what's going on. This gives the employees the opportunity to have the face-to-face opportunity with clients as well as coworkers or students. Some of you have mentioned that already. So when you're in the office partially, that helps with that communication. It also saves company money. One of the advantages is that companies have saved thousands upon thousands. I think there was one study done where they were saying on the average, it's about $11,000 on what they're saying per employee. A lot of it is because of the facility rental space as well as travel, not to mention supplies and a huge reduction in, I'm going to say like air conditioning, utility bills, because there's not as much usage when there's less people in the office or during I'm going to say when we were 100% remote for some of us, or for some of you, that was also a savings cost to employees and stuff, or to the companies. So anyway, so that's another component here. So it saves company money since they don't have to invest as much in the office space. And employees appear to be and share and express that they tend to be happier, as we've been hearing today as well this morning. And it also allows companies to maintain the culture and managers to support their employees. And that's the component when you're in the office, where it allows that bonding to occur, the interaction, building the trust, building the communication, finding out. Greg said, "Oh wow, everybody's not boxed into the same shape and size in the Zoom box, right? We're all different." I just recently came back from a CCAOE, which is the California Community College conference up in Northern California in Sacramento, and there have been people that I've been working with on Zoom throughout the county, and to see them in person, I've never met them in person, was like a whole new thing. It's like, wow, now I see not the face behind the face because you see them on Zoom, but now you get a whole different dynamics of interaction because it's more face to face. So definitely a lot of pluses and perks to that. Doing it both ways, and the productivity definitely, as Pat mentioned, seems to be higher. So let's see what the stats say. So what percentage of employees want, right, the desire to have a work model that is hybrid? In the United States, there was a study done, and this is from the Future of Work by Ziba, and the citation is on the bottom. And this PowerPoint will be provided to you at the CPA website. And here we go. So there is about 83% of employees that are wanting to have a hybrid model. And so they realized that during COVID, many of the workers, or many of us job workers, realize that there's less likely to have burnout when there's a hybrid model. Although some people say, like Pat, it seems like you're working hard or not, but at home, you're also taking the breaks. When you're at work, you don't take as many breaks, or sometimes some people don't take a lunch, but I'm not going to encourage that, because the Department of Labor says you all should take a break and you all should have a lunch. So I'm going to leave it at that. So anyway, for full-time remote workers, some people miss that face-to-face live interactions in the office. There seems to be the opportunity for full-time workers that want to have more flexibility with their personal lives at home and be able to produce and work as well at home. So it kind of gives a little bit of life balance opportunity to be able to work, be productive, and then be at home to take care of other personal matters. Let's see. And what are some of the advantages? Well, we've kind of talked about that a little bit. From employees, we're going to talk about the fact that the employees, the ones that are working, like all of us, we are able to socialize with our colleagues when we're face to face, although we can do that on Zoom as well, but they tend to be shorter because we're time locked into whatever the time of a meeting is on a Zoom. And then I think Greg mentioned it earlier, he's been on Zoom back-to-back meetings all morning, right? So sometimes you're just going from one to another, so it doesn't take as much time as sometimes when you're in the face-to-face, people are dropping in, stopping by. So something that we take into account, something that we look at. As one of the, I'm going to say, building of relationships and forming of the trust. And another thing is the access to professional development, right? There's been more professional development done and available to employees online and for free. Many companies have offered many trainings for free. That's been a huge opportunity for growth, not only in technical skills, but professionally, as well as personal, because there's been a lot of mental health opportunities for doing workshops and learning how we can have a little bit more balance with all the stress that's occurred, not only to COVID, but from the remote working or hybrid working. And for some of you, 100% you've been in the office during the entire time, even during COVID. So bless all of you for doing that during the extreme difficult times that we had when the beginning of the pandemic began and throughout of the whole entire wave. So thank you for that. Equipment and professional meeting space in person. The advantage of being in the office with this is the equipment. You have more opportunities to tap into equipment, where at home you may be limited to a type of equipment that you need. So just want to share that a little bit. The savings on commute, that's a big piece, right? Especially with gas prices nowadays. So being able to commute a few days a week instead of every day, that has been a huge help, as well as for some individuals that have childcare costs. So they've been able to save on the childcare costs, as well as the maintenance on vehicles and other things. For employers, they're saying, yeah, it's a big, oh, here it is, a huge savings. It's about $11,000 per employer per year. It helps boost morale in the workplace because the employers are happy with a hybrid model. and they're able to maintain a workplace culture because they are coming in the office and they are working remotely. So employers seem to be favoring it. And what makes it more efficient? Well, the virtual tools. Zoom has made it very user friendly to be able to communicate, have meetings, not have to commute. So has Teams, and then WebEx. And there's been so many other virtual platforms out there that we've discovered during COVID. And those have all been successful in being able to do interactions between meetings online and in person. And sometimes a Zoom meeting is preferred even over phone calls. The amount of phone call conversations has reduced, and it's increased for virtual meetings or virtual conversations and working on projects as well. So that's one form of efficiency that has increased productivity. Open communication, I think Pat mentioned it earlier, having to log and communicate. That's important as far as like the work, but also in being able to communicate and get updates. So whether you're working virtually from home or you are in the comfort of your office, being able to meet face to face. And so this seems to be something that management is continuing to advocate for. And they're saying, yeah, that it seems to be a team savings on the commute and the potential childcare costs as they know, but it's bigger than that. It's also productivity is much larger and much more, I'm going to say, much more engaging for employees to be happier in the work. And that's one of the things that's very emphasized right now is the mental health of employees because of burnout and the stress. So the fact that employees could be more at ease working a hybrid schedule seems to be one way companies are addressing that. In the United States here, what's interesting is this is pre-COVID, right? If you look at the graph to the right, the dark blue says how much hybrid work was offered before the pandemic. I was shocked to find out that 47% were already offering that pre-pandemic. Um, I think that's amazing. It's gone up, but this is pre-pandemic, right? 10% never offered it, 16% were started the implementation during of it, but 27 had to do it in regards to when the pandemic started, and they're planning on keeping it. What's interesting too is that there are studies showing that in regards to our global well-being for the planet, having a hybrid is helping with the carbon markings in the planet. So it's something that's being looked at globally as international huge companies are discussing hybrid and how to expand that and increase the amount of maintaining the hybrid work schedule. But some of the factors that happened after the pandemic, right, or post-pandemic that we're starting to realize is that the number one concern, as I mentioned, is the employee health and wellness. 84%, this is such a heightened concern that companies are offering mental health well-being workshops, resources, counselors, not only to students, but also for employees. So that's something that's at the high level of importance. The other one is productivity. They want to make sure people are productive, but they're not too worried about that because they already seen that during the pandemic, productivity has actually increased in many companies. They want to be able to maintain and access talent. That's a big one, especially right now with the big resignation going on. There's a challenge to find talent. So being able to access talent into the work pool is a huge one. And equally important is to be able to have a workforce plan that's going to align with the mission and incorporate a hybrid model. So how do we keep employees engaged? How do we make them feel valued? How do we help them? How do we also build the trust and promotion? And what do we base it on? So the old ways of doing things is changing the mindset of our leaders in the higher management of companies in regards to how do we align the workforce plan with the mission. And HR is also dealing with how do they now implement some of contracts and service contracts if they're going to be doing hybrid. Are they going to be a permanent employee? Are they going to go part-time? Are they going to go consulting? Some of those models are changing and some of them are improving. So it'll be interesting how that forms out. Diversity, of course, that's an important, that's at 50%. Cybersecurity is a huge concern, but a lot of the companies are using their own IT equipment that has VPN for security. So they're not too worried about investing in that. The other priorities, thank goodness, is more of the value of the individuals and the people. that are working in the workforce. So that's the bigger piece. The real estate and the cost, they know it's a huge savings. So it's not a high priority as the other factors. And then of course, investing in new technology is a minimal concern. Feel free to ask me any questions at any given time during the presentation. Here's some hybrid and company cultures of what our desire is. And when they did this survey, and it's interesting, some people say about 1 to 3 days, that's at 6%, but 3 days per week, that's a whopping 29% of what the workforce would like. If they can have their ideal work schedule, it would be 3 days out of the week. And that's usually a 3 day out of the week out of a 5 work week. So the fact that, I think, Michael, was it you that shared that you worked 3 days and 1 day in the office? Oh no, 1 day and 3 days, right? So
Yes.
hopefully it'll kind of shift over, where you kind of have a little bit more, maybe half and half, right?
Yes.
But we'll see, because these are big conversations that are going on globally and in the United States. So it's going to be interesting what we see in the next 6 months between now and the end of the year, how this is really going to have a paradigm shift in the workforce. And it's good for us to be aware, because as we're aware of what's going on with our workplace practices, we can understand it. And then we can also understand it so we can share with our job seekers, our clients, as we're trying to get them back into the world of work. So anyways, 21% said, yeah, give me 5 days a week, I'm good, right? And 5 days a week tends to be like you're really asking for not a hybrid schedule, but a full remote schedule. You want to work virtually. And we'll talk a little bit about that, because there's a company that is actually promoting that. And so we'll talk. So some of the top benefits, as we mentioned, is you don't have to commute, the savings that you have with that, especially with the price of gas, and time. And I think, the time factor, the time that you save not being on the road, might be a contributing factor why Pat, I'm using you as an example, why you're spending extra time working at home, right? Because sometimes we're there, so we're doing a little more and beyond because our computers are there. We want to 32% are talking about the fact that we reduce our exposure to COVID, the pandemic. And then of course, 26% is because of our family and our pets. And then the childcare responsibility came in at 15. So these are interesting stats. Robert Half did a study and the future of the hybrid workforce. They're saying that the hybrid is about, managers are going to require their teams to work about 16% of the time, in the office and remotely. Fully in the office is 71%, 16% will be remote, 12%. They're going to allow, this was interesting, they're going to allow employees to decide, what factor that might be, and it depends on the position. But if you look at the bottom left-hand side where it says the manager's main challenge when overseeing a hybrid, they just want to make sure that communication is being done, trusting employees to get the work done. And even though that's at 20%, the studies show that the productivity levels there. So they're starting to look at what tools can we do to measure that, so performance-based. So that goes into a whole other conversation. They want to recognize accomplishments as well and professional development. Costs and concerns, like I said, some of the big tech companies such as Salesforce, Facebook, Goodwill, what am I saying? Google and Amazon that have adopted the hybrid model, they're looking to go ahead and maintain and keep that. And then Spotify, they're looking to keep people remotely. They can work remotely 100% anywhere they like, which means they don't even have to stay in California like some of the restrictions. Some companies here in California have a restriction if you're working hybrid, you have to remain in California, while others are saying, we don't care what part of the planet you're on, as long as you're able to do the work, you're performing, we're good. So Spotify is changing that whole outlook in that regards. There's some companies that are bringing everybody back 100%. That's where I'm at. How many of you are 100%? And that's where it seems to be where it's going to be right now. Can I get a raise of hands or maybe a thumbs up? Let me take a look. You guys are all to my left. I want to kind of see. Oh, okay. In Greg's case, thumbs down, right? Okay, thank you for sharing. The other thing is that we want to talk about is this is a huge concern. You're going to start hearing more about leveling the playing field, about a 2-class system. Because of the hybrid model, now we're starting to see that there seems to be a 2-class system going on. And what is that? What's a 2-class system? It's basically dividing the perception of the workers' ability and how outstanding they are if they're in the office versus remotely. And remotely is out of sight, out of mind, even though those individuals are producing highly as well and as competitively as those that are in the office. But those that are in the office, the subconscious mind or the norms of what we're used to is those that we see in the office performing and communicating, building the bonds, tend to be appearing to be performing more when that may not actually be a reality. And so there may be a disparity where a two-class system is starting to show. And so they're starting to, and this is they being companies, to train managers to be aware that of that unconscious biasm, so that there could be more equity and accessibility, and also opportunity for growth and promotion. So it's going to be interesting to see how that goes. That's something that is being discussed. And so if you look at the third bullet, it says there cannot be a two-class system, those in the room being first class, right? And those on the phone being second class. So they don't want to dismiss anyone that may be in person for a meeting, while in the background we got Zoom going on for those that are working remotely. So they want to make it as an equal playing field. So it's good that these conversations are going on. And as I mentioned earlier, I already covered these bullets. It's a new way of rewarding output, you know, see those achievements of what's going on. And this is important, all these things, because these are points that we need to make our job seekers aware of what's going on in the workplace, things that they need to be aware of, why it may be important to consider a hybrid position versus a full remote position. But every individual knows what's best for them. And so for some individuals, a remote workplace is best, you know, so we'll see. Now, technology. I'm going to show you about a 1.5-minute video really quick in regards to what Microsoft is doing. And this is called Viva Insights. Can you do me a favor in the chat box? If you can put just yes or no, have you heard of Viva Insights in regards to Microsoft models in hybrid? Because this is something that you will probably be seeing in the next year, 6 months to a year, of what companies are going to start implementing and utilizing, especially for those companies that are already utilizing Microsoft as one of their main service things. Let me see. I'm going to go ahead and pull up I got to shrink you guys. Give me a second. All right, Greg, can you introduce some of the other board members while I look up the video really quick?
Absolutely. I see a couple new board members on it. We'll have you go around, tell us where you're from and what position you have. I saw, we'll start with Shelly. I see Shelly. Are you there, Shelly?
I'm here. Sorry. I'm trying to unmute and everything.
No apologies. Needed.
I am with Mount San Antonio College, and I am the Southern California Education Co-Partner Rep, I think. I think that's my title.
That's a mouthful.
Something like that.
Awesome.
And welcome, everybody. Thank you for attending.
Awesome. Louis Sobervie, are you around?
Hey, good. Are we still morning? Yes, good morning. I'm sorry. It feels like it's been already a long morning, right? So my name is Louis Sobervie. I work with Greg at Merced County Office of Education. I provide our workforce services and job development to our adult learners. I work with our adult consortium here locally. And I think also have a mouthful in regards to CPA role. I think it's also an educational co-rep, I think, with Greg. I don't remember the hat I'm wearing for that. So thank you, everybody. Seen a lot of good numbers on here. Awesome. Good stuff. Appreciate it. Thanks for all your help. Greg and Rosalinda as always puts a smile on my face when I get to see Rosalinda. So
Cheryl, are you around?
Yes, can you hear me?
We can.
Oh, good. Good morning, everyone. My name is Cheryl Bias, and I am a corporate director for a company called GFF. We're part of a HACO group, and my role here is I participate as a representative for Southern California employers.
And we do appreciate all of our board members and all of our members in general, and those that are attending our state conferences, and all of 35 of us here on the webinar now. Rosalinda, it looks like you're good to go.
I am. And you know, what a wonderful opportunity to call this a hybrid workshop, right? We're doing a little bit of workshop, take a little break. Let's introduce the rest of the board. So it kind of worked out. So thank you for that. And thank you everyone for your flexibility. Let me go ahead and share my screen here. Where am I? Let's see if this works. Can you all see the screen? Oh, you know what? I need to, hold on a second. I need to put the audio. Let's try this again. Okay, can you all see my screen? All right, I'm gonna have about a minute and a half of this.
Up next, we're joined by engineering leader Kamal Janardhan to go deeper on Microsoft Viva Insights. We're going to show you how it delivers data-driven, privacy-protected insights and recommended actions to help individuals and their teams improve their productivity and well-being, and your options for configuration. So Kamal, welcome back to Microsoft Mechanics.
Thanks, Jeremy. It's great to be back on the show.
And thanks so much for joining us today. So, of course, before we go into Viva Insights, if you're new to Microsoft Viva, it comprises 4 modules with more to come that deliver new employee experiences across knowledge, communications, learning, and insights, all in the flow of your work. Now, these leverage foundational technologies of Microsoft 365, Microsoft Graph, and AI to deliver a modern employee experience platform. In fact, you can learn more by watching our Essentials episode at aka.ms/Viva Essentials. Now, one of the foundational experiences in the new Viva platform is Viva Insights. So Kamal, can you explain what's behind it?
Glad to. So when the pandemic hit, it was a shock to all of us. And as we were developing the Viva Insights experience, we looked really closely at the impact of that shift. In fact, we recently published a work trend index report, which was based on a study of 30,000 employees across the world in 31 different countries. And that surfaced a few key learnings. First, that flexible work is here to stay. People want to be able to work anywhere, and this helps their productivity. Next, as we work remotely, it is harder for leaders and managers to stay in touch with their teams. And lastly, as a workforce overall, we're all exhausted. In fact, our time spent in meetings has more than doubled.
Right, I gotta say, I think these are all very relatable insights, both as individuals or as managers.
Yes, because hybrid work at home and in the office is the new normal. We want to give individuals, managers, and leaders the insight to develop healthier work habits and a better work environment. Viva Insights, as part of that employee engagement platform, is our intelligent experience designed to leverage My Analytics, Workplace Analytics, and Exchange Online to deliver these data-driven, privacy-protected insights that recommend actions to help prioritize well-being and productivity. For example, as an individual, I get personalized reminders to book focus time or to take regular mental breaks. Then as a manager and a leader, Viva Insight gives me granular visibility into work patterns that can help me detect trends like burnout so that I can stay more connected with my team and minimize attrition.
Okay, so I think for many of the people watching, the personal insights available to you as an individual will be familiar.
All right. Okay. So technology, Microsoft is embedding a lot of tools and techniques, and I'm sure other companies are as well, in regards to how to help managers, leaders, and companies be able to support, build the trust, provide that mental health component, integrate all those components as well as productivity, and monitor how much time employees are investing perhaps on Zoom meetings, right? And maybe figuring out a way to leverage that out so the employees don't get burned out. Especially with the Great Resignation, we want to make sure that we're bringing value, happiness, and balance in the workplace, as well as maintaining productivity, the culture, and meeting the goals and objectives and the mission and the values and the vision of the organization. So it's great to see that Microsoft is one of the leaders taking part of this with technology. So this software program that they're bringing out with the Viva Insights, it's data-driven insights, I should say, is something that we will probably be seeing in the workplace or other, I'm going to say other platforms as they continue to get developed within companies. So let's talk about some of the hybrid work skills and equipment. So when we're talking about students or job seekers wanting to go in there, things that we need to have for part of the discussions are to share with them. You have to have good communication. Be a good communicator. Let me ask you really quick. Are you seeing my slideshow? I just want to do a check-in. Troubleshooting, I guess, would be a good thing on Zoom, right? For someone that's going to work remotely. Being a good communicator, that's going to be verbally. It's going to also be by email or online, as well as face-to-face, because they're going to need to be doing the communication in written format, video format, and then the face-to-face. Being well organized with your time, utilizing a calendar perhaps, having tasks, figuring out how you can project manage all your different projects that you might be working on, depending on what it is, being able to motivate yourself to be able to complete your work independently, that's an important skill to have, because you don't want to be distracted or say I'm at home and then not do work, and then someone's trying to reach you and you're not there and you're out at the grocery store. So just be mindful of that's something that's a conversation that we need to have with our job seekers. Being reliable and available during designated work hours, whatever those hours are. Some companies are allowing flexible hours, which is really interesting. And they're allowing your 8 hours that could be between 5 in the morning to like whatever 8 hours time shift. And some are even offering the night hours, which is second or third shift as part of the hybrid. So it's interesting to see how that continues to form out and more flexibility during those hours and how it's going to be tracked by companies. Desktop, having individuals be aware they may need to invest in a desktop or a laptop. Sometimes the company will provide that, but sometimes they do not. So it's a point of conversation that job seekers need to be aware of if they're looking for a hybrid work model, to find the companies that are offering that or to make sure that they invest in that. The other thing that's important is to verify and be aware that they may need to have a video camera attached to that laptop or the desktop. And then the specifications, because depending on what type of software, if there's a company wanting you to do film and editing, you may need something that has more RAM and more memory that can support that software program. So things to be aware of on the technical end. Also being aware of how to use, like, for example, Zoom or Microsoft Teams, being able to troubleshoot the router at home. If the Wi-Fi goes out, they should be able to know how to do that. How to have work-related software and how to do background screens so that, they can block things out, especially when they're managing schedules on their calendar or having group meetings. An external hard drive in case the computer dies, in case it gets a virus. So it's important for them maybe to have an external hard drive where they can back up the files every day, or to consider a cloud-based service such as a OneDrive, Google Drive, or a Dropbox. Because if something happens to that computer, the laptop falls, you don't want to lose those records. And so it's important because it's not only their personal records, but it's also the importance of the employee. I'm going to say the employer records as well. You need to have reliable Wi-Fi. And so that might be a cost that they're going to have to invest in, something that has a higher broadband. And then also be careful when you're out in the public places. That's something we need to address with the job seekers, so that they need to be mindful, because they might have information that is private, and you got to be aware of your surroundings, because what if somebody's in the background filming them and they're looking up records where it has maybe social security numbers or just confidential data. So open public places, you have to be careful. You want to make sure you consider investing in what they call a VPN service, so that your data is encrypted and people cannot necessarily hijack your information and I'm going to say hack your computer while you're in a public place or even at home. And then the other thing is be mindful that you may want to consider a quiet area where you're going to designate that real estate location in your home. Because if you're in the living room and the dogs are passing by, people are passing by, doorbells ringing, that might be too many disruptors, especially if you're on meetings or on a phone call. Oops, I'm going a little too fast here. Let's go. Security, things to consider for security. These are the conversations we want to have with our job seekers, and that's going to be store your computer and devices in a secure location. And what that means is a lot of times, and I do this too at home, I leave my laptop in my workstation, but what the suggestion is between individuals in IT and some of the studies that are going out there is to put your laptop away in an area that's not visible in case your home gets robbed, but hopefully it doesn't, right? but it's one of those things that you just want to be mindful of. You don't want to have it on, and you don't want to have it I'm going to say out on display. So just something to consider. The other thing is, if you walk away, lock your screen. And that's because you don't want pets going in there typing stuff by accident because their little paws are on there, or somebody come in, a child or another individual, where they can touch the information, especially like, let's say you're at a public location, like I'm going to say Starbucks, and you walk away really quick to go to the restroom, come back, you're leaving your laptop fully exposed if you're not locking it. So just be mindful of that, or the fact that somebody can walk away from it. So something to consider. Don't leave your passwords or documents with sensitive information out. So don't leave that out and visible. The other thing is make sure your internet is secure with the up-to-date patches. So you want to make sure you're updated on the systems. So there's time to time that the companies will offer those patches where you can do it, or the company that you're working for will offer that. Consider using strong passwords, not only for your login credentials, but for your router. And the router is your Wi-Fi device at the home, because you want to make sure that other people can't tap into it. And one of the suggestions is to change your password on your router at least twice a year. So anyway, be mindful of your surrounding when working in public. I think we already covered that. This is a new thing that's going on, and this is important for human resources as companies, as well as for the job seekers, is to look at the remote work agreement. Some companies have it, many of them don't. If you don't have it and you're having your employees work hybrid or even remotely, it's something that from an HR point of view, you want to take into account. Companies are starting to look into this. As well as for the job seekers, they want to protect themselves. Us as employees want to be protected. So we want to see these work agreements. Are they identifying us as permanent employees, temporary, or contractors? So it's important to know. It's important to know, especially as we talk about taxes, right? Because some individuals say, oh, great, I'm working. And they go under the assumption that they're getting the benefits and they're going to have all the perks as a permanent employee. So some companies are offering permanent employee remote workers, permanent employee hybrid, but they're also doing it as temporary and contractors. So because the world of work has shifted into a more hybrid model and remote, these are the questions that job seekers should ask. You know, is this going to be what type of position? It helps streamline the onboarding process. So when you're doing the onboarding process from the company's point of view, you want to make sure it helps with retention so that it's very clear. This helps create the baseline of expectations so everybody knows what they're getting themselves into, and that helps build the trust and as well as transparency. From a legal point of view, the employer of record and the tax regulations are protected and need to be protected. And so companies should have a remote worksite agreement that's being offered to the job seekers. Safety and security. Now that's a huge one. You want to make sure you have adequate work tools and it's identified. You know, some companies will say that, and it'll be stipulated in the work agreement, that you should be offering when you're working from home, you should be using, if they're issuing a computer, only the work computer when doing that. And that's because a lot of times it's got the VPN encryptions. And if you use your own laptop, it's not protected necessarily. And if you're doing work that's work related with privacy, it jeopardizes the company. And so it puts the company in a liability. So being able to stipulate that in the work agreement is important, as well as providing the employee with the tools that they may need. So that's one of the suggestions, or letting the employee know, you know, we'll provide this, and that's going to be a give and take depending on the company. So the clear job description and communication should be indicated on the remote work agreements. And then equity, salary, stipends, benefits, all of those wonderful things that we enjoy. It should be clearly stated what's included, or stipulate what is not included, right? So those are topics that are being addressed right now as we're going into more of a hybrid. And it's important because we want to prepare our job seekers to be aware of this so that they can have those as talking point conversations when they're going on their interviews, when they're seeking employment opportunities. Even if they're not on an interview, it's a great opportunity for them to be able to maybe make a phone call and inquire about those positions. Anyway, so the whole point is we need to get ready for the hybrid work. It's already been there, but we need to prepare our job seekers. Companies are doing their very best to really incorporate all of this as they're formulating how to do this, how to improve the methods, how to not have that dual class system occur in the workplace. So that's great that those conversations are happening because it shows that they're caring. And then for our job seekers, we want to reinforce that that support is being there by many other companies and stuff. So with that, I have about 12 minutes to open up the forum to all of you, and let's have a discussion in regards to what your thoughts are, and some ideas that are going on there and suggestions. And I think there's been some stuff on the chat box, but I'm not sure if there's been any questions. Greg, can you help me out? Or
No,
Luis or
I
somebody?
have not seen any questions. People are just keep responding to your questions to us.
All right. So what are some of the job seekers concerns that are going into hybrid that you've been hearing in the industry from your point of view? Who would like to share? Thank you, Lynette. Okay, let's ask this question. Has anybody been dealing with job seekers wanting to do hybrid models, or is job seekers wanting to just go back full time into the world of work physically? And you can go ahead and put it in the chat box. If anybody would like to kind of share out loud, that'd be great. Love to hear from you. Don't be shy.
Yeah, I would like to say something. So a lot of the feedback that I get from students is that the concern they're having, which I think kind of ties into hybrid, is on the interviewing side. How do you really mold that person to feel comfortable in that type of environment where it's going to eventually still be a part of their work if they get hired on and work in the hybrid capacity? I think there's a concern there because of just all the work that they're currently doing now that's online, and being able to really convey that personality and really shine in that type of environment. And I think a lot of, with the exception of healthcare, I think the students are really concerned that that's going to be an issue for them once they get hired on, to really be able to adapt to technology. So it's more of a comment than anything.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I appreciate that, Jackie. And it's true. And some of that technology might be something that we may be looking to assist our job seekers with, tapping into, maybe with the America's Job Centers or Goodwill Industries or some of our community colleges, some of our high schools, adult education, some of our school districts also preparing the youth that are ready to graduate from high school so they can have some of these tools and get ready for the world of work. And be more upskilled in some of these, skills, as you were indicating, Jackie. So that's important. As more and more students, or I'm gonna say job seekers, are looking to do remote work, the other thing is, what are we doing to prepare for that? Have we started doing workshops and talking about the remote working? And I'd like to hear if maybe that's something that's being integrated at the high school level, at the community college level, at the WorkSource level, with WDD, EDD, working with veterans, those with special populations. Can you share a little bit in regards to that? Is that something that's been discussed that's going? Michael, I see your hand up. Thank you for raising your hand.
Thank you very much, Rosalinda. That was great information. Wow, thank you. I just wanted to know, based on the research that you've provided this morning, are there any, how can I say, is there any, like you said, published data that can be shared with employers? Say, for example, like you said, knowing that there's going to have to be a like a remote or hybrid policy in place, because at this point, so many job seekers are certainly, this is part of a negotiation package now, obviously, when they come on board, just as negotiable as salaries and things of that nature. And so for us, and anyone that's doing any type of consulting for businesses, if we had a let me see, like a go-to report or something like that that we could use to sort of help them, that would be fantastic.
That's a great point. I know when I was doing some of the research here, and I didn't have an opportunity to put all the research in there, and I kept reading and reading and reading. And we have one of our board members by the name of Chung Tai, and Chung was telling me, he goes, as soon as you finish that, he goes, send me your slides and I'll go ahead and put the branding. So I want to give a big shout out to Chung on that. And I got so involved with reading different articles and studies. I did come across one, Michael, that came from SHRM, which is like the HR network. And there was others, and I'd be happy, I have them all at home. I'd be happy to pull some of those links and share them with you, Michael. That is data driven, and also some of them are on surveys. So definitely happy. And it's great to see you, Michael. And I worked with Michael Thomas out with LA County at the AJC Center when I was out there. Now I'm out in Riverside, but a big old virtual hug to you. It's great to see you. And thank you for sharing your comments. Oh, there you are. Yay. There was also, I saw something in the chat box.
There is.
you want to go ahead and read that?
Sure.
Jay?
Rosalinda, why do you think California is not allowing job seekers to live outside California to do remote work? The cost of living is so expensive.
I agree. I agree. I agree. I don't really have the full answer to that. I want to say, yeah, Victor's right. Taxes is a big one. I know I'm going to speak for Moreno Valley College. I know that the previous apprenticeship director that was here, she ended up relocating out of state because her husband got a better opportunity out there. And so and this was during the pandemic, she wanted to continue with the position working on the remotely, right? And it was one of the college's policy that that they needed to be here. And part of it was because of the hybrid model that they needed them to be here a couple of days a week. So that would mean they would be flying in, but it had to do with liability, and I'm not really sure, but the college ended up saying no. I don't know the full details of the why. I know that some companies are trying to keep everything home-based and accessible, where if they need you to come into the office on a certain day, that's more reasonable than if you're having to fly in. So I don't really know that. I want to ask a couple of people have been putting some stuff in the chat. I haven't been able to read it. Are there some responses there? But Cheryl, are you still here? Cheryl is one of our board members, but she also is an HR manager, a director over a manufacturing plant, not only here in California, but in Chicago, Illinois as well. So, and she works with a company that's international. So it'd be great to hear from you if you have any insights on that by chance. And I don't mean to put you on the spot. Is Cheryl on the line? I can't tell. Let me change my view. Okay, maybe Cheryl's not on here. Let's see. I know Victor was saying people would say to work in California, but resources from California are going to help people reside in other states too. I agree with that. I don't know, but you know what? That is kind of an interesting question that I think I'm going to pursue and do some research on. I would say, if you're interested in knowing, I'll do the research, connect with me on LinkedIn, and then I'd be happy to share some of those research data and reports by LinkedIn, and I'll send you the email as well. How does that sound? I can follow up and do that because I'm interested in knowing too. And I'd be interested in knowing what it is with HR practices or the legal practices. So I'll get some advice as well. All right, any other questions? Comments?
No. Rosalinda? Oh, we do. Susan, oh, you're on mute. There you go.
Hi. Just I'm just wowed by how everything has evolved. I was a recruiter way back in like the 90s, and then I started having a family, and I asked at that time, I wanted to keep my job if I could work from home, and it was a big no. And so I'm so jealous that now this is happening. I think it's actually great for, mothers who have children, infants, and that still want to continue working. I think this is awesome. I think it's a win-win for some people and some companies. But yeah, and great presentation, Rosalinda.
Oh, thank you, Susan. Appreciate the support. And you bring up such a great point, especially for working mothers with infants, the importance of being able to stay home and be able to help them, and then also do the work and perform the work and be able to have that support, so that even though they're not attending to the child 100%, somebody else in the household is, that the mother's still there. That's a big plus to working mothers, or even working fathers that are staying home and are able to help out the students, or I'm just say the children, any of the caregivers, regardless of gender or whether it's a biological parent or not. For those that are able to do that's a huge support, not only for the individual, like you mentioned for yourself, Susan, as a mother, but for the child, right? For the child to have that nourishment and the bond with the family or their loved ones while they're at home and they're little. So thank you for sharing that.
Rosalinda, we are running out of time. I want to thank everybody for attending. Rosalinda, I want to thank you for presenting on such a timely topic. I know hybrid, is it going away? Is it staying? So it's this topic on all of our minds. I know you want to do your photos. because
Yeah, let's do it.
love that. And if you wanted to give 2 minutes to just talk about the CPA conference coming up in less than 2 weeks on April 26th and 27th over Zoom.
Yeah, why don't you go ahead and do that, Greg?
Okay. So yeah, I've been posting in the chat the link. April 26th and 27th is our state conference this year. Next year, we promise to be in person in Southern California. We have close to 24 presenters lined up to speak. We're going to do our employer panel.
Someone's got their audio on, not sure who that is.
It's showing up for me. I don't know. So we invite you all to attend. It's only $50 for both days. We have some great raffle prizes, great presenters, and employer panels from around the state of California. I don't know if we have people from out of California this time, but the link was thrown in there. If not, it's calplacement.org is our website, and you can just click on the annual conferences, and you'll find the link to register there. We'd love to see all of you there.
All right, let's get ready for a picture, but I just wanted to say with that CPA Virtual State Conference, there's a lot of prizes. It's a lot of fun. I know it's virtual and it's all day, seems long, but we had a wonderful turnout last year and people remained online the whole time. Great presenters for $50, 2 days of training. It's fantastic. All right, let's get ready for our LinkedIn photo. So I'm going to say, ladies, let's go ahead and puff our hair, fluff it out. Gentlemen, do the thing with your dab. We want to probably just kind of wipe across the little extra shine that we got going on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask for thumbs up. And then I'm going to do, I think there's 2 pages here. So I'm going to do 1 page and then we'll do the second page. How does that sound? Thank you all for joining. And I can see all your faces now. Thank you so much. And I want to thank everyone for being here today and etching time out of your busy schedule to do this. All right. So we're going to do thumbs up. Awesome. I think I got it. Okay, so we're going to do the first page. Make sure that your head is centered in the screen. You know, some of you have things that we need to share with our job seekers as well. And here we go. We do thumbs up. Ready? And we're going to do this on 3. Look at the camera. 1, 2, or double thumbs up. I like that. 1, 2, and 3. Give me a second while I save that one really quick.
Hi, my name is Luis Sobrevilla, and I work with the Merced County Office of Education, and I'm a proud member of California Placement Association.
Hi, my name is Greg Friedman. I work with Merced County Office of Education. I'm a proud member of the CPA Northern Region.
Hi, my name's Denise Crawford, and I work at Bakersfield College, and I'm a proud member of the California Placement Association Central Region.
Hi, I'm Rosalinda Rivas, and I'm a proud member of the California Placement Association.